Spotlight.
Good evening, listeners. Welcome to today's Spotlight. I am Nishit Kumar, and today we'll be discussing about Prime Minister's address at the 18th Rojgar Mela, Employment Generation and Governance Reforms. The 18th edition of the Prime Minister Rojgar Mela was held today. The event marks a significant milestone in the government's mission mode recruitment drive to bolster the national workforce, and to discuss more about it, we are joined in by Mr. Sanjeev Chopra, senior journalist. Mr. Chopra, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Nishit.
Now, Mr. Chopra, employment generation is one of the key drivers of any economy. And with our economy envisaged to grow the fastest, how do you see the recruitment drive with this Rojgar Mela which happened today?
So this is the 18th edition of the Rojgar Mela, which was envisaged by the Prime Minister himself on 22nd October 2023. This is also a structured institutional mechanism to fill government vacancies and to channelize the youthful energy of our country. As you know, that India is amongst the youngest countries in the world. It's actually the world's youngest nation with a median age of 28 years. 65% of our population is below the age of 35, giving this population a massive demographic dividend. You know that we move towards a developed nation by 2047 when we touch 100 years of our independence. So this recruitment will help channelize the energies of the youth towards nation development as well as achieving this goal of a developed India. So as the Prime Minister himself said, that this appointment letter given to 65,000 youth of the country, not just an appointment letter but a Sankalp Patra, which is a pledge towards Viksit Bharat and an invitation to join in nation building.
You also mentioned, as always, Prime Minister also spoke about today about the demographic dividend. You also mentioned and the opportunities the country is poised to provide the young citizens. Now, how will this demographic dividend contribute in the country's economy, Mr. Chopra, if I may ask you?
As you know that India is right now the fourth largest economy in the world, and it is striving to be the third largest economy. As more jobs, since India has very young population, as you know that, as I just said, that 65% of the country's population is below the age of 35 years.
Right.
So basically, this energy these youth can be drivers to the growth of the country as we aim to become a developed nation by 2047. And as you know, the China and United States have a median age of 37 years, while Europe has a median age of 45 years and Japan has 49 years of median age. So this gives India a huge
edge,
advantage over the other countries. So basically, but the demographic dividend is also a challenge, because on one side we have the dividend of a younger age. On the other hand, we have the challenge of providing them employment opportunities. So, and channelizing these energies.
Absolutely. So, Mr. Chopra, Honorable Prime Minister spoke about our GDP doubling in the last decade or so, and more than 100 countries investing through the FDI route. Now, as a consequence, it brings in that much more employment opportunities for the youth. But before we take your comments, let's listen to the Prime Minister what he had to say about it.
आज भारत पर जिस तरह दुनिया का भरोसा बढ़ रहा है, वो भी युवाओं के लिए अनेक नई संभावनाएं बना रहा है। भारत दुनिया की एकमात्र बड़ी इकोनॉमी है जिसने एक दशक में जीडीपी को डबल किया है। आज दुनिया के 100 से अधिक देश भारत में एफडीआई के जरिए निवेश कर रहे हैं। वर्ष 2014 से पहले के 10 वर्षों की तुलना में भारत में 2.5 गुना से अधिक एफडीआई आया है, और ज्यादा विदेशी निवेश का अर्थ है भारत के युवाओं के लिए रोजगार के अनगिनत अवसर।
Mr. Chopra, your comments on that?
Yeah, as the Prime Minister said that over 100 countries have invested in India, and the total FDI that has come into India has touched more than 2.5 times since 2014, and which means that India will get tremendous opportunities. He also said that the government is signing various trade agreements with various countries, and these will pay new opportunities to the youth, employment is concerned.
Right.
He also mentioned that, for example, in electronics manufacturing has grown multiple times. And he also talked about digital India giving rise to a new economy, and India is emerging as a hub in this sector. Since the GDP is growing, there is a report which says that the India's large workforce is expected to give a boost of US dollar 700 billion by 2030 in the GDP. So you can imagine how much, this large workforce, the youthful workforce of the country can contribute in nation building.
Absolutely. That's humongous, Mr. Chopra. And even as you say this, all the macroeconomic indicators are poised to bolster our economy in the coming times, with the country soon to be the third largest. And of course, it is the fastest growing economy as of now and the fourth largest, as you also mentioned in your opening comments. Now, Mr. Chopra, give us a holistic picture of how the youth can be engaged in the Indian growth story, because the world is looking towards India. The world is looking, we heard the EU president the other day saying in Davos that we'll be having a FTA with India, which will be the mother of all the agreements which has to happen. The youth essentially has to kind of get integrated into all this scheme of things which is so happening these days. So could you give us a sense of how the youth can be engaged in this growth story?
Yeah, exactly. The European Union president is here, and they will be holding talks with India and finalizing the free trade agreement on January 27th. The Prime Minister has also been talking about the various startups in the country. India has presently, 2.08 lakh startups where over 20 lakh youth are working. Basically, as I said earlier, that while there is a dividend available to the country because of its huge workforce, a youthful workforce, there is also a challenge to channelize their energies unless they can fall prey to negative tendencies. We may have seen recently violent protests in our neighborhood. It started with Nepal, Sri Lanka, and now off late in Bangladesh.
Right.
So basically, they have to be engaged in constructive activity. And the challenge is to take up giving them more employment. And the Prime Minister has been stressing not just employment, because you just cannot depend on government jobs for employment opportunities. The private sector has to come in, the economy has to grow, and the private sector has to grow to provide these kind of employment opportunities. The Prime Minister is also focusing on self-employment opportunities. Basically, he's saying that job seekers should not just remain job seekers, but also become job creators. Since, as you know, that a number of Indians are also leading many global companies today across the world, the youth have to be channelized to contribute towards nation building.
Absolutely. Even as you say that, Mr. Chopra, the Prime Minister as well today laid great emphasis on the startup ecosystem. You also talk about that, which is expanding rapidly, and the opportunities it brings along with it. Now with the AI, the artificial intelligence being the new mayor in town. So we'll discuss more about it, but let's listen to the Prime Minister what he had to say about this.
बीते समय में भारत ने आधुनिक इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए अभूतपूर्व निवेश किया है। इससे कंस्ट्रक्शन से जुड़े हर सेक्टर में रोजगार बहुत बढ़े हैं। भारत के स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम का दायरा भी तेज गति से आगे बढ़ रहा है। आज देश में करीब 2 लाख रजिस्टर्ड स्टार्टअप हैं। इनमें 21 लाख से ज्यादा युवा काम कर रहे हैं। इसी प्रकार डिजिटल इंडिया ने एक नई इकोनॉमी को विस्तार दिया है। एनिमेशन, डिजिटल मीडिया, ऐसे अनेक क्षेत्रों में भारत एक ग्लोबल हब बनता जा रहा है। भारत की क्रिएटर इकोनॉमी बहुत तेज गति से ग्रो कर रही है।
Mr. Chopra, we just heard the Prime Minister talk about the digital economy and how India should harness it. Just before the Prime Minister spoke, we talked about the artificial intelligence being the new mayor in town. Now, how can the youth incorporate? There was such a chatter, so much of talk about artificial intelligence in the just concluded World Economic Forum meeting at Davos in Switzerland. Now, in your view, how can the youth incorporate and build upon this AI ecosystem to bring about a seismic shift as far as the Indian economy is concerned? That is one, and of course, providing self-employment and providing employment for the others as well, so that it can be an exponential kind of a factor in growing the Indian economy. Your views on that?
Yeah, as we know that artificial intelligence has generated a lot of buzz that it will replace the human interface. But artificial intelligence is being deployed by various sectors today. As you know that India is global leader in information technology. You know, a lot of Indians have set up shop in Silicon Valley, and a number of them today, as I just said, are leading global technology companies too. India's youth can deploy artificial intelligence, and as the nation's growth, it is important that there has to be ease of living and ease of doing business. So for the country's economy to grow further, the youth who are employed in government jobs and in private sector, they can bring about this change of bringing ease of living and ease of doing business in the country. And it's also upgrading themselves. It's important that in the fast changing times, the youth of the country have also to upgrade themselves. And so have the government employees. It's very important that they make use of artificial technology and help themselves as well as the nation grow faster.
Now, the Prime Minister also touched upon women empowerment, and with more than 8,000 daughters today receiving the appointment letters, now he underscored the importance of Mudra Yojana and Startup India benefiting women. He also talked about women being the key drivers and also being directors and founders in startups and MSMEs, as you mentioned, and leading cooperative sectors and self-help groups in villages. Now, any economy, Mr. Chopra, just cannot thrive without, kind of engaging almost 50% of the population in it. Your thoughts on that?
Women contribute to 50% of our society, and they are now moving forward from not just homemakers, but to leading top companies today, not just in India, but even abroad. Out of the 61,000 appointment letters that were issued today in the Rojgar Mela, 49,000 plus are relating to the Ministry of Home Affairs, the Central Armed Police Forces. And over 8,000 women have been recruited in these paramilitary forces. So women participation in nation building has doubled since 2011, the Prime Minister said. And as far as the PM Mudra Yojana, as you mentioned, as much as 56 crores of loans have been offered under this scheme, and 60% of these loans have gone to women. So you can imagine, once the women come in the forefront, it will give further boost to a larger workforce and further boost to our economy as well as the country. So we hope to achieve our goal of becoming a developed nation by 2047 by using women force also.
Absolutely, Mr. Chopra. And the Honorable Prime Minister today in his address also exhorted the youth to adapt to the rapidly changing technology. We just discussed about AI revolution and all, but there are other things as well which the youth has to catch up with and make full use of the platforms like IGOT, Karma Yogi, that is IGOT Karma Yogi, which has already empowered 1.5 crore government employees. Now, how do you see this statement of Prime Minister?
As I just said, government employees also have to keep upgrading themselves, because these are the employees who have to implement the government policy and initiatives. So unless the initiatives reach every Indian at the grassroots level, so the government employees have to be very updated with technology, and they have to keep upgrading themselves with the fast changing times. So it's very important. The Prime Minister also mentioned that the country has now started moving on the reform express, with youth driving the nation now. India has a large network. India is growing on the infrastructure sector. It's growing in the aviation field. It's growing in the technology field. It's growing everywhere. So with the fast pace of India's development, it's very important to take the nation forward. Yeah, Nishit.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much, Mr. Chopra, for having joined us and shed light on the Prime Minister's address today at the 18th Rojgar Mela Employment Generation and Governance Reforms. Thank you very much, Mr. Chopra.
Thank you, Nishit.
Listeners, you can also listen to this program on our mobile app, News on AIR, and on our YouTube channel, News on AIR Official.
Spotlight.